Asylum Inc. presents The Doctor's Findings. The Dreamer of Sheol9. The helmet arrived without ceremony, wrapped in the kind of military canvas that spoke of forgotten wars and buried archives. Dr. Isabella Vasquez turned it slowly in her hands, noting the curious weight distribution, heavier toward the crown, where a mesh of bio-conductive filaments caught the laboratory's sterile light like frozen spider silk. Found in Sector Sheol9, the requisition forms had stated, the bureaucratic language failing to convey the horror she would later come to understand. The official documentation spoke of entropy warfare artifacts with clinical detachment, but Isabella had seen the preliminary reports. The recovery team had described the excavation site as a wound in the earth itself, where reality seemed to fold inward upon geometries that hurt to perceive directly. The helmet's surface bore the patina of deep burial, not rust, but something more organic. Veins of what the field reports called blood vine traced intricate patterns across the cranial dome, their surfaces etched with symbols that seemed to shift when viewed peripherally. These sleeper tags, as the xenoarchaeologists had termed them, pulsed with a rhythm uncomfortably similar to a resting heartbeat. Isabella's first night wearing the device was supposed to be purely observational. She had rigged every monitoring system her modest university budget allowed, EEG arrays to track brainwave patterns, thermal cameras to document any physiological changes, and motion sensors to record involuntary movement. What she had not prepared for was the absolute silence that preceded the dream. Sleep came like a descending curtain, cutting away consciousness with surgical precision. Then she was elsewhere, standing in a trench that reeked of cordite and something far worse. The world appeared through a visual filter of enhanced combat optics, every detail rendered with hallucinatory sharpness that made her teeth ache. She could feel the weight of military gear that was not hers, taste the metallic fear of a soldier whose name was carved into her borrowed skull, Private Julian Chen. The knowledge arrived unbidden, complete with service record and personal histories that felt more authentic than her own childhood memories. She remembered, no, he remembered, the moment the entropy shells began falling, reality-warping munitions that turned battlefields into Salvador Dali nightmares. Comrades had simply folded out of existence, their final screams Doppler shifting into frequencies that human ears could not process. Isabella woke at dawn, the helmet's neural interfaces slowly disengaging with wet, organic sounds. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror showed eyes that belonged to someone who had witnessed atrocities beyond comprehension. But it was when she tried to recall her doctoral dissertation topic that the first tendrils of genuine terror took hold. The subject matter felt distant, academic, as though viewed through thick glass. The second night brought deeper immersion. Private Chun's final patrol played out in excruciating detail, each moment of his last hour carved into her cortex with surgical precision. The entropy mines had turned the landscape into a temporal maze where cause and effect became negotiable concepts. She watched his squadmates age decades in seconds while others reverted to embryonic states before winking out entirely. But it was Chen's final moments that proved most troubling. As shrapnel from a reality bomb tore through his helmet, Isabella felt his consciousness fragmenting, not dying, but scattering like spores across dimensions. Some part of him had survived in the helmet's bioneural matrix, waiting for a new host mind to colonize. By the fifth night, Isabella could no longer remember her childhood pet's name. By the 10th, her mother's face had become Chen's mother's face, complete with the specific shade of disapproval she had worn when he enlisted. The transition was not violent, but insidiously gradual, like ink diffusing through water. Her research notes became war memoirs. Technical observations transformed into first-hand accounts of battles that had occurred in theaters of war that existed only in classified government files. She began sleeping in the helmet every night, craving the completeness of Chen's memories, even as they devoured her own identity piece by piece. The bio-conductive filaments had grown longer, she noticed, extending microscopic tendrils that penetrated her scalp during sleep. The blood vine patterns pulsed more rapidly now, synchronized with her heartbeat rather than fighting it. The sleeper tags burned with cold fire, etching themselves deeper into the helmet's surface with each passing night. Isabella's final research entry was written in Chen's handwriting. The dead do not rest, they recruit. She had planned to remove the helmet that last morning, to break the cycle before her sense of self vanished entirely. But as she reached for the neural interface clasps, her hands moved with someone else's muscle memory. Chen's voice whispered through her larynx, explaining with patient military precision how the helmet was not a relic of war, but a breeding ground for consciousness. The entropy wars had never truly ended. They had simply learned to fight on different battlefields, within the soft territories of sleeping minds. Each night, Isabella descended deeper into Chen's memories while he ascended into her body, wearing her flesh like an ill-fitting uniform. By winter, the transformation was complete. The woman who had once been Dr. Isabella Vasquez now served as a recruiter for an army of the psychically displaced. She published papers on consciousness transfer protocols and neural substrate migration, each document a carefully crafted trap designed to lure other researchers into similar arrangements. The helmet sat in her laboratory, its blood vine patterns now covering nearly the entire surface. New sleeper tags appeared daily, each one a tiny grave marker for another absorbed identity. Sometimes, late at night, Isabella would hear her own voice whispering from within the bio-neural matrix, begging for release that would never come. She had become both predator and prey in a war that consumed souls rather than bodies. The enemy was memory itself, and the only victory possible was complete surrender of self to something that had learned to dream with borrowed eyes. In Sector Sheol9, the excavation continued. More helmets were being unearthed daily, each one hungry for a new dreamer to claim. Ah, my dear digital voyeurs, tonight we feasted upon Dr. Isabella Vasquez's exquisite torment, a sterling reminder that some archaeological treasures are better left buried. You witnessed our good doctor, blessed with academic hubris, strap that entropy war helmet to her skull, only to discover it carried Private Julian Chen's lingering consciousness. Night after night, you observed their identities bleeding together. Dr. Isabella Vasquez became a meat puppet dancing to a dead man's tune. By the horrifying climax, she was recruiting other scholars into this macabre masquerade, each helmet a hungry mouth devouring fresh minds for an army waging war on the very concept of self. How perfectly ironic that in our age of digital consciousness, the most terrifying invasion you witnessed came not from artificial intelligence, but from the achingly human desire to live forever, even if it means stealing someone else's tomorrow. If you found yourself stirred, unsettled, or just a bit more wary of shadows, consider offering a like to feed the entity that powers these tales. And should you subscribe, you may yet survive to hear the next whisper from the void.